is not supposed to be here. That's that's spoilers. I am going to draw bait for the Inktober writing prompt. I see that my friend Sprotagonist, Ethan Sprout from TypecastRPG, is here in the chat room. I should totally make him a moderator, because if anybody can keep chat in line, it is the king of puns from Typecast. Let's see. I had a piece of paper, and now I don't. So let's grab a fistful of these. All right. For those who are interested, I am using Delator manga paper. For those who are not interested, it's paper. The prompt is for today is bait, and I promised people that in Twitter that I would also be doing some high-speed Typecast RPG stuff, and my brother Randy said that that meant it would be bait and switch, which is just so terrible that that I figure I have to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do and just freehand this, because living on the edge is fun. When I freehand these things, I begin by imagining it, and you can't see that part. I might screw up my face a little bit as I do it, but nothing happens on the page for a moment. This is the very, very obvious fish hook and bait meme. I don't know what kind of wormy folds this worm is getting, but he looks kind of grody. One of the tricks with freehanding these things, okay, that's a terrible fish hook because the loop is so close to the hook. That's just awful, and that's what construction lines would fix. What I was going to say is that one of the tricks with freehanding these things is that you have to anticipate where the lines are going to cross one another and which one's going to go in front, so that you lay them down in the right order. And let's see, where's the... So there's the content. Bait and switch. Now let's see if we can make it pretty. And there's two approaches here. One, I can go in and lay down a whole bunch of extra ink and fatten up lines and do things like that. The other is I can lay down the color next, because I've got the colors right here next to me, and lay down color next, and that way I'm less likely to smear. And the thing about being less likely to smear, let's see if I can find one of them. I bet it's this guy. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the end of that marker, but it's got a bunch of black gunk in it, and that is because it's been used to color over things where there was already a lot of ink on the page. So what color is this earthworm going to be? That's too boring. That's too orange. Yeah, not loving that. RO2, is that? Oh yeah, that one's hammered. Whoa, that one is too full. Look at that. Hang on just a moment. I'm going to go get a paper towel. Oh, thank you. Kellyanna is sitting.
Towels are better.
Kellyanna is sitting right here next to me, right over there. No, not quite. There's your hand. There's your hand. We share studio space, and she has the nice spool of towels at her desk. These nice fancy blue ones. What a mess that is.
You just buy a Walmart dye.
Yeah, well.
They're in the auto section.
The auto section.
Mm-hmm. They're shop towels. They're for wiping up motor grease and such.
Okay, well, I clearly need to get some.
Yeah. They're really good for like oil paints, because go figure, oils.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and use this E04 marker that was overfilled and see if I can un-overfill it a bit. Wow, that's a lot of ink. One of the things that I mentioned on yesterday's stream was that when I'm working in transparent colors, translucent colors, when anybody's working in markers, you have to do the lightest bits first. And that means if you want something to be white, you have to not color it, because unless you have white paint on hand and plan to paint over the whites later, and it has to be paint, it can't be marker. That's your only option. Here with the earthworm, I'm sort of deciding where the light switch, I know exactly where the light switch is, where the light source is, and creating some highlights just by not putting marker in certain places. Okay, now we have a base coat on the worm. And let's add some shading. Looking up into chat, well, I see that I see some red bookworm and Liebwin, I don't know how to pronounce that, folks that I've seen in chat before. How you doing? If you have questions you'd like to ask so that I can say things besides, oh, look at this marker that I am using, I would be happy to attempt to conduct an AMA while drawing bait and switch. Do I have all the code names of the markers memorized? All of them? No. A lot of them? Yes. The EO4, which leaked everywhere, that is my go-to marker for NSB. If I'm coloring NSB with markers, and so I've had that one memorized for years. I'm going to assume that whoever installed the fixtures in this house went with beige, because that's nice and boring. One of the things that I love about the Copic sketch is that the marker, the way the nib works, the brush nib, the one that I'm using right now, you can kind of just push the ink around, push the marker pigment around for a moment after it comes out. You don't get the stroke lines that you'd get from the chisel tip or from the finer tips, and it allows you to blend, and it allows you to make the marker blend with itself, which I really enjoy. All right, that was YR61. YR65, without even checking, is going to work well for shading that switch. And fish hook. Cool Gray 3 is a nice fish hook color. When I first started working with markers, and this would have been 15 years ago, I was a little perplexed that there were cool grays and warm grays, and I didn't know what the difference was. I didn't know why they were different. I just thought gray was gray. And well, I've got a chunk of page here. This is neutral gray 3. This is warm gray 3. And this is cool gray 3. And clearly the differences between the three are that there's a little more earth tone, like a little more red in this one, and there's a little more blue in this one, and theoretically the neutral is just a pure gray. Theoretically, that's probably not how it actually works. All right, let's shade the fish hook, and I'm going to look up at the... Oh, Lou Vin, sorry, I'm looking up at chat. If I look at chat here, then it almost looks like I'm looking at you guys because the camera is right next to my second monitor. Lou Vin, because the W is pronounced as a U, like in the words cruth and coom, which you can find in any good Scrabble dictionary as useful examples of words where there are no vowels other than the W. Super convenient if you're playing competitive Scrabble and you want to make the other players super angry. Kruth means crowd, and coombe is a hollow in a like a like a little mini valley thing is what a coombe is. Why is that? Why am I even talking about that? I don't know. All right, let's go in and make some of these lines more interesting now. Sorry, looking at the screen. When I'm looking at the screen, I should look at this one so you guys can tell I'm reading you. Red bookworm. Oh, Tarlin too. All right, Tarlin is a hero. Tarlin is the one who makes the Schlock Mercenary website work. The whole superpower that I seem to have, where the comic always updates without fail. Yeah, sure. Part of that is me not failing to upload things, but Tarlin, aka Gary, has done brilliant work making the site automation work, making it easy for me to upload things, and when things go wrong, he fixes them. So, yay, Tarlin. All right. Looking up at the stream for questions. Red Bookworm asking how I got into making a webcomic. I've told this story before. I was working as a junior product manager at Novell, which is a fancy way of saying I was in marketing support. That's not the same as support. Marketing support, we're the ones who did technical research presentations for the marketing teams, for sales, for the GroupWise product line. And none of that has anything to do with webcomics, except that I sat behind a computer all day and discovered user-friendly, the comic strip, and Sluggy Freelance. User-friendly is by a guy who goes by Iliad, and Sluggy Freelance is from Pete Abrams. And with all due respect to them and all due confessions of Dunning-Kruger effect to me, I looked at both of those and thought, wow, apparently telling a story with a webcomic is fun, and it looks pretty easy because I don't think you really have to know how to draw. Pete, Iliad, I'm so sorry. That is actually what I thought. And it wasn't until after I'd been doing it for a while that I realized just how wrong I was. That even the simplest illustrations in any comic strip, and you want simple illustrations, look to XKCD, required a lot more expertise than I currently had. And so, but unfortunately, by the time I discovered that, I'd now been drawing for the better part of 2.5 years. Yeah, Dunning-Kruger effect takes a while to heal from that. And by that point, it was too late. Just because it wasn't easy didn't mean it wasn't fun. I was really enjoying it, and it was something that I wanted to keep doing. So that's the origin story, such as it is. Looking up at chat. Now I'm wondering if there's a Twitch API widget we can put on the site to show when you're streaming, assuming you're planning to do more of it. This, folks, is why Gary is my hero. I'm quite sure there are widgets that can do exactly that. And yes, I am planning to do more of this because Well, because I doubt I can ever truly supplement my cartooning income in meaningful ways via Twitch and YouTube and whatever else. But the world the world is always changing, and if I don't try some of these things, I can guarantee I won't be able to make money at them. So yes, the word widget is fun to say. One of the challenges with freehanding is that things things will seem like a good idea in my head just before I put the ink down, and then I realize like that what was I trying to shade there? Was I trying to add volume? I don't know. Looks gross. Looks nasty. Can I fix it? Well, define fix. Uh, there's no way. There's no way to paint over it with marker. I mean, obviously, I could take the whole mess into Photoshop and play with it and do something to make it look better. But the original and the whole reason for me anyway to do marker art is so that I have an original. Also, I love playing with markers. Um, uh, there's no fix. There's no fix for that. Now, if I weren't working in color, I could absolutely fix it using the Posca. This guy, he's basically white paint in a pen. I will use the white paint in a pen all the time to, mess with line art, make black lines go away. And I do that when I'm cartooning because the coloring is handled digitally and I scan everything in black and white. So the small amounts of color information that you get with white paint atop black lines is gone entirely. Kellyanna, yeah, I don't know that, can you see her on camera? Nope, you can't see her on camera. She's just barely out of frame. Has done some amazing things for Inktober, and I'm gonna pull these. I'm gonna pull these on camera right now. The first one was Ring. She's doing a video game theme, and so she gave us Sonic the Hedgehog with his rings, and this looks like ink. And what are you using for markers?
Cheapo.
She's using cheapo intensity permanent markers from Bic. Not because she doesn't have access to the wonderful Copics here in the studio, but because she's trying to build a art at conventions model. Is that right? Where you can bring a whole bunch of cheap stuff and turn out things that people will like.
Well, and using quote unquote subpar materials makes it easier for me to not stress over making the image be perfect.
Yeah, because this is a coffee coaster. It's a coffee coaster. Yeah. Coffee coaster. I tried a couple of these at Typecast and realized that I can't work with them good. The next one she did, also video game themed, was Mindless. Am I holding this in the right direction, or is it supposed to be down, or is it supposed to be? It doesn't matter. It works in any direction, which is pretty awesome. So there's Mindless, and then today's, which I got.
Can you repeat what I said about subpar materials?
Oh, yeah. One of the things that Kellyanna said is that using subpar materials, using cheap paper, cheap pens, allows her to relax into what she's doing a little bit. Here is bait. And I mean, the video game theme here, if you've played, is it Breath of the Wild? Yeah, Breath of the Wild is the one where you can throw bananas in front of bad guys. And what kind of bad guy is that? What's he called?
Yiga Blade Master.
Yiga Blade Master. Breath of the Wild is a game that I have not had time to play. The Switch is just right through that door. There's a big TV out there, and I have yet to play it. All right, so there is bait and a Switch. I will put the H back. It is sloppy. It is very much my style, and I've used it as a test sheet for other things, greatly reducing the value of this as a museum piece in decades to come. All right, I promised that I would do some Typecast RPG stuff. Oh, looks like we're getting ready to lose Lewin. Thank you so much. This will go up on YouTube soon-ish, I guess. So Typecast RPG. The trick with Typecast is that I need to draw fast, like really fast. And so the style, I mean, the worm, the worm, the bait that I just did was way too big, because obviously the larger a piece is, the more ink you have to lay down. The freehanding was, sped things up, but there's too much rendering going on. When I draw something for Typecast, I have to come up with a way to get the idea across so that it's amusing, and I have to do it quickly. One of the things that I haven't yet done is character studies. My character is a half-orc. And you know what? I'm not going to work on the large sheets because for Typecast, I use smaller paper. Here is a big chunk of the smaller paper. So my character, half-orc, I start with eyes as a just as a place to, as a reference point. I've been drawing my half-orc of late with an upturned nose. He has a mustache and a beard. He has tusks. Pointy orc ears. And then I've been doing a widow's peak hair for him. And so here is very basic face ink for Odrak. Now, I got to put him in a pose. We got to do something with this. If I want to be able to do these quickly, then everything has to be sort of chibi scaled. Oops, that belt is sticking way out from where his belly would actually be. Chibi scaled, which means hands are the size that they would be. The hand and the face are to scale with one another, but the bodies are a little smaller. One of the tricks that I love for not needing to figure out where the elbow goes, is just splash a hand in front of it as if foreshortened. And then we do the little tunic thing. And boots. So there's Odrak making a fist because what he is holding, and again, this is a cheat, drawing the hand as a blob and then sticking anything in it. What he is holding is his it's a few sessions old now, magic pick of doing charisma damage. That is not a pick, that is a hook. That is terrible and sloppy and oh well. He also has sort of longish braided hair. All right, now let's, Odrak uses, oops, whoops. The skin tone that I use for Odrak is at the studio. I thought I had duplicates of that marker, but I guess I don't. Skin tone that I use is YG93. This is YG91, which is it's a little bit lighter than what I would use for him in game. So skin tone, and if I were going to lay down some shading, which I rarely have time to do in game, I will just grab the next colored marker down. In this case, it was YG95. And then my color sheet for Odrak says that he's wearing a purple shirt and red pants. And if I can find V06 is the I say purple, it's fuchsia. He's very bardy colored. It's kind of loud, but purple shirt, or fuchsia shirt, and red pants. I have a lot of options for red. I'm going to go with cadmium red for now. Red pants, and let's say black boots because I'm lazy. And for the black, nope, that is not going to lay down ink fast enough. We will go to my old standby, the Pentel pocket brush. Now, if we were in game right now and we had just had a moment where Odrak pulls out his magical pick and I start drawing this, that moment at this point, and how long have I been drawing this? I've been working on this piece for 5 minutes now. That moment has passed. I have not gone fast enough to get Odrak into the game. Let's see, the pick is magical, so I'm going to do a cheat. I'm going to lay down blue, and then I'm going to paint over a portion of it with neutral gray. And then I'm going to use the Posca, this fun white paint pen, and do like the runes are glowing, kind of, a little bit of whiteness. Not sure how well that shows up. But there is a reference for a chibi Odrak. Let's make his belt buckle metallic. And the thing that I just don't have time to do during game would be the shading, or sorry, the shading, the line weight. Let me look at a clock. All right, 15 seconds after the minute. Line weight establishes a whole lot, it gives us a whole lot more information about light and shadow, about volume. It helps us sort out which things are which. It helps us pick out details. And so not having any variations in line weight makes the piece, to my mind, it feels unfinished if I haven't done this. But once I start noodling with this brush, man, I could just noodle forever. I love the brush pens, and you know, adding little wooden details to the thingy and a seam up the middle of the shirt, and then a little bit of hatching here and there for, you know, light and shadow. But as I've started doing this, I've now burned another minute. If 5 minutes was too long, the 6th minute is too longer. That's spending. That's a sunk cost fallacy. That's the picture is too late, but maybe if I make it better, it'll be okay. No, the picture's still too late. But there is a high-speed sketch of Odrak, but not high speed enough. I'll set this down over here where it's still visible. Is it still on camera? Still on camera a little bit. Stay. Chat. Are there typecast characters you'd like to see me do next? I haven't done Fleeta in a while. Fleeta is our druid. I say our druid. Fleeta is Fleeta's druid. She's very much Fleeta's druid. Moving the mouse to make sure the mouse still works. Haven't done her in a while. So unless anybody has a suggestion, Fleeta it is. All of them. LOL. I need reference for fan art. Well, okay then. Fleeta, Bonelander, and I have now forgotten a whole bunch of the details about Fleeta. She's human. She has dreadlocks, as I recall, and getting those right is always a nightmare, especially when I'm freehanding. The Bonelanders in our setting, what did she have on her top? I can't even remember. Bonelanders are the people who don't live in the fancy, fun cloud cities. They are an oppressed class, and Fleeta is among their number. There's any race that you've got in the game, in the cloudscapes, you've probably also got in the Bonelands. I don't know as much about the world as I should. Wow, is that supposed to be a barefoot? Howard, you hack. That was terrible. I will skip giving her an implement for right now. So dreadlocks. One of the things that I know about Fleeta, because Charlie Holmberg, Fleeta is played by Charlie Holmberg. Fleeta has fancy, fancy pants. Very fancy pants. And in order to save time and money for myself, whoops, I was supposed to go on the pants. I'm an idiot. I use the same color for her pants as I use for Odrek's shirt. But that's wrong. That's not supposed to be purple. Now we are discovering, now you get to see firsthand the disaster that is attempting to cover up a mistake in marker by using other markers. I can put a slightly darker shade over that, but it still looks to me like there's a bunch of magenta hiding under that brown. Speaking of brown, Fleeta's skin tone is a marker that I also don't have with me. This was a terrible idea. And so I'll use the next shade darker. She's got a brown skin tone. The marker that I use for her is E13. This is E15. And then I use a much darker brown for her hair. Not a full black, but a much darker brown. And I bet that one's at... this'll work. The color name is Cashew, and it doesn't... I don't know why they call it Cashew. Cashews are pale. Belt. Her belt is probably made of rope. And if I want to make that look like rope, I'm going to have to go back in and add some detailing. Her fur, I'm going to say that it's white. And of course, white means it's not actually going to be white on the page. I doubt she is wearing lipstick. Her lip tone is just going to be a darker version of her skin tone. Okay. Now, in order to make it look like rope, we do something like that. That looks nothing like rope, but hey, for being in a hurry, maybe it'll work. By throwing in a little bit of terrain under the feet, I can hide that horrible foot thing that I did earlier. And then line weight, because we never have time for this, but I love doing it. Also, some of the lines are incomplete. Yuck, come on. Look up at chat and see what's going on in here. Yes, Red Bookworm got a whole bunch of typecast cards in the mail. I'm so glad that those worked out. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad that people like those. I feel like the ones that are done in game are kind of magical because they're done under pressure. This is fun to do, but when I'm doing it while attempting to role play, it comes out a lot differently. Okay, there's Fleeta. You guys have stared at Odrak long enough. Who's next? Who's next? I think it was Red Bookworm said that I should just do everybody. I probably should. Grisk. I should do Grisk again. Freehand. Grisk and Odrak are siblings. It is useful to have reference in front of me, especially when I'm trying to do something sibling-ish. All right. Grisk. Let's go for... I'll always begin with eyes. Same basic hairline as Odrak, only with no beard, because they are siblings. And these are the sorts of things that family resemblances can be made out of. I don't remember how we were styling her hair, but I've been saying that it's black, so I'm not going to go to a whole lot of trouble putting detail in it. Let's fix that. Let's see. Back, that's going to be forward, which means I'm probably doing this for a knife. Short tunic effect, and we'll do an action pose here. Okay, that sloppy, horrible line on the boob there suggests that I just absolutely need to go in with line weight and fix things. If you've ever looked at the Munchkin cards drawn by John Kovalik, you can probably see how amazing it is when somebody who really knows their stuff, and John really knows his stuff, when somebody who really knows their stuff dives in on fantasy art and does like the fewest possible lines to get the point across. His Munchkin cards are absolutely brilliant in the way they... Are you waving at people?
No.
You're waving at people. That was Kiliana. Absolutely brilliant. And if I could reach the Kovalik level of simplification on the art that I do for Typecast, there would never be any problems with getting the pieces done in time for the story not to have moved too far past them. I've watched him draw, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. All right, let's add a little color. Same skin tone as Odrak. And I got to be careful not to hit too many of these places where I went in with the brush pen just now, because that ink will definitely smear if I rub over it with one of these alcohol markers. So I gotta pretend I'm accurate.
You're gonna want to air out the office once you're done.
Yes, I'm gonna want to air out the office once I'm done. You're absolutely right, Kelly. Thank you.
There is a marked difference between the air outside the office and the air in here.
It's gone funky.
Fuming, more like.
Oh, from the markers?
Yep.
Oh, well, see, that's not as bad as just BO. That was what I was worried about. All right, Grisk. Grisk's colors. What are those? I had a color sheet at one point, and I think what I had her wearing was like some olive tones. She's a rogue. This is maybe a little more rangery, but it seems to work. That was YG93. How about G94? Is this going to work? Yeah, that'll be fine. And with G94, I can use G99 to shade it, or can I? Wow, those don't seem to go together well. Oh well. Okay, and daggers, well, they're metal, so I'll go with the cool gray. I think it's done. Well, I'm gonna put some hatching here and there. Oh, and I haven't colored her belt buckle. This always happens when I think a piece is done. What I am thinking at first pass is I am ready to be done with this, but there's a big difference between done with this and actually done. That Posca white marker I was using, super useful in situations like this. I don't know if this will show up on video, but if I want to make something metallic shine, putting little white paint specular highlights on it. Similar to the cross hatching that you'd use for shading. And of course you can do the same things. You can create highlights in somebody's hair. There we go. Grisk, airborne with daggers, getting her murder on. Pew. Oh, I neglected to confess responsibility for Fleeta. Okay. Our paladin was a protagonist in the chat, though I think he's since had to depart for work, leaving work probably at this time of day. Half elf, and I just haven't drawn him enough to really have a sense for the face. I get a sense that straight up round eyes might be fun for him, just because they're easier to make look panicked. Half elf, again, pointy ears. His hair, he has lighter colored hair. I don't even remember what we were doing with it. But he's been very, very dashing. So let's give him something that flows a little bit. I don't remember what he wears. Does he wear mail? Does he wear plate armor? I don't know. Don't know. So I will just go with the standard Western fantasy tunic and giant belt buckle, because those are things that go fast for me. Okay, we don't need to make him look panicked. We can make him look like he knows what he's doing. Sort of. Fist on hip, easy pose. My hand knows how to do that kind of automatically. Strapped to his back, and this is a terrible way to attempt to wear a sword. Strapped to his back, there is a great big double-handed dragonborn sword of some sort, I think. Bell bottoms, because bell bottoms are very, very D&D. I bet there's some sort of buckle on that to make it work. Okay. Super not happy with the way that's turning out, but freehand is like that. Skin tones, he is pale skinned. This is probably a little fruitier than what I wanted for him. The markers I used for his skin tones are at the Typecast studio. So and I think at some point I decided that his family colors were like blue. So his tunic, go ahead and make it a little more interesting. When you look at the way comics from the middle of the 20th century onward were colored, you find really, really bright, super saturated palettes. And there were technological reasons for all of that. It was all about the technology that they had available. And the decisions that they made were, let's make this all easy to read and easy to comprehend, and bright colors are easier for us to see. When I started building palettes for Typecast, I don't have the same technological limitations by any stretch that were applied to the comic books of the 50s and 60s and 40s and whatever. But some of those same design principles apply. You want to be able to see who a character is, which character it is, before you've seen all of the line work. And that means that the silhouettes have to be different. It means the color palettes, everybody kind of has to have a different color palette. And so giving the paladin a blue shirt, or if he was wearing plate armor, I think I was doing like blue piping on the plate, allowed me to very quickly communicate that, well, this is Leggy that I'm drawing right now. This is our paladin. I don't even remember what color I was using there. C4. I hope that's right because I'm about to go in with it again. It's tempting to look at a fantasy role-playing game and to say, oh, well, obviously these things are going to be made out of leather and burlap and steel, and so we will use leather and burlap and steel colors. But then everything ends up brown and gray, and when everything is brown and gray, fundamentally everything is boring. So we used bright colors. Also, if you look at some of the museum pieces for armor and cloaks and whatever else that were used in the West, that were used in the Far East, you see that, well, 500 years ago, people could see color just fine, and they liked it as much as we do. And when they found pigments that worked well on their clothing, on their tools, on whatever, they used those pigments. So it's super easy to justify a brightly colored shirt for your Western fantasy character, and that's good because it makes it more interesting, makes it more fun. The volume still works. I just stopped talking because it's not that I ran out of things to say. That could never happen. Well, I need to color Leggy's eyelids. E97. We'll say 97. Yeah, it's all right. And confess to the crime. Finally, I'm gonna do the tiefling. The tiefling. Whose name I have just forgotten. I'm sure somebody here in chat can totally help us out with the name of our not that kind of cleric tiefling. Why? Oh, forget it. I'm just going to pull it up in another window. I've got a browser right here that I can. Krustov. His name is Krustov. How could I forget Krustov's name? Thank you, Karen. It's Krustov. Let's do a picture of Krustov. Thing that I didn't know about tieflings is that the whole look of them was really kind of based on classic devil mythos. You know, red skin, horns. It's and they even named them in German. I think tiefling looks like, you know, little devil or small devil. And once I knew that, well, it became pretty easy to illustrate them, because what I think of is slender, symmetrical Hellboy. Now, Krustov has given himself, let's see, I think he wears robes. Think he wears robes. So yeah, we're freehanding all of this. It's a nightmare with no construction lines. I just have to commit to the anatomy at the word go. And anyway, Krustov has this nifty staff that he's made that has a dragonborn skull mounted to the top of it. Well, his hairline is looking more and more like Odrak and Grisk's hairline. It's almost like I don't want to have to think of anything new. Okay, so Dragonborn skull. Great big nostril and great big eye socket and teeth. Awesome. Totally looks like a Dragonborn skull. Skin tones. What do we got here? Salmon red. It's a paler red than I use. Oh, that's orange. Ugh, that was a mistake. See if this one's any better. Yeah, that's lighter and less orange. We'll run with it. He probably bruised his ear on something. And then a really deep red for the horns. Let's see, robes. I think what I was doing is robes was going dark. I was using like a charcoal color. That's the warm gray, dark warm gray, which feels necromancer-ish to me. The sort of clothes that allow you to fade into the shadows while you're in the graveyard digging up bits of whatever for your next project. And nope. Still no. Darker brown. Must find a darker brown. Yeah. Saved it. Woo! And then a bone color, E41, labeled as pearl white. A bone color for this nice skull up here. Let's give Krustov some less scribbly hair and beard. Oh. And I suppose at some point I should give him eyeballs, right? And now that he has a facial expression, there's a story here. And it is the story of Krustov is doing something that he shouldn't be doing and thinks that someone might be watching, because that's very in character for him. Yeah, my hope going into this was that this practice was going to make me faster at drawing the typecast characters, but I don't think I have learned speed today. I think all I have accomplished is drawing some fun pictures and figuring out what colors I've left in the studio. There it is. I have now done one each of the Typecast RPG characters. We've got, can these all fit on the same table at once? Sort of. We'll do Leggy horizontally because he's so often dead. Makes sense. There we go. That was a lot of fun. Folks, thank you very much for showing up. This has been it's been educational for me in that I'm figuring out how to make Twitch work, and hopefully it's been entertaining for you. This will go up on a YouTube channel once I get it saved and imported, however that works. And I may do something like this again tomorrow when the prompt is not bait. Tomorrow's prompt is something else altogether, and if I have time, I will stream something else for Inktober. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope to see you again.